Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shuri. If you are new, welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my pros and cons of being a surgical technologist. So for those of you who are new, I'm a surgical technologist. I've been doing it for about a year now, and I wanted to share with you guys my pros and cons so far as being a tech for a year. So to get right into this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and interact with me down below. Don't forget to also follow my social medias at Life with Shuri on Instagram and on TikTok, and also Fitness with Shuri on Instagram. So to get into this video, we're gonna start off right away, and I'm gonna get started with the cons because at the end of the day, it's a job, right? It's a job, and every single job out there has a con. So I'm just gonna be giving 3 cons, 3 pros, because I don't want to keep this video, I don't want to like drag this video out. So let's get into it. First con, number 1, and I'm gonna do this number 1 because this is something that has been testing me lately. Like as I get like into the job and like figuring out life, I realized that the most testing thing about this job would 1000% have to be the surgeons. The surgeons, and if you work at a teaching hospital, it's going to be residents as well. Now, the surgeons, like when I was getting into this field, you always used to hear, you know, surgeons are mean and like they're just like the worst, right? Now, don't get me wrong. This is not every surgeon. Okay, there's definitely a lot of really nice, like as I'm talking, I'm thinking about all the really nice surgeons that I've encountered and interacted with and worked with. The handful of the ones that be trying you, girl, listen, let me tell you, they are trying individuals. They're very trying. They can be very disrespectful. They talk down to you. You know, they act like you don't know what you're doing. They make you feel like you are so stupid sometimes, right? Sometimes they don't even give you the time of day. I've interacted with surgeons who literally don't even like acknowledge me. Like they don't really acknowledge me. We'll do the case and they'll barely talk to me, and they will just leave without even saying thank you. And at that point, honestly, I don't even want the thank you. But the point is, like, you need to thank your surgical tech regardless. Like that's just point blank period. You need to like thank your surgical tech, right? But some of these surgeons, and like I said, it's not everyone. And it's also not just a specific specialty. There's a wide range. Every specialty has their person that's just nobody wants to work with them. They're mean, you know, they're just, and it's not even like mean, it's they're disrespectful. Like you can be mean all you want. You want to be a mean girl, fine. That's fine. You know, but it's the disrespect. They're very disrespectful. They talk down. Like, you don't need to talk to me like I'm a child, but they will. And a lot of people might say, oh, well, you just got to check them. You got to put them in their place. Now, if you can do that very professionally and respectfully, by all means. I'm the type of person, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. If I'm going to read you, you're going to know that I'm reading you. You're gonna know that you're getting read. So personally speaking, I ignore them. I don't give them the satisfaction of really getting down to their level, because at the end of the day, like, you got to remember, like, this is still your job and you have to be professional. And if there's really a surgeon that you guys are just not meshing, you guys are not getting along, the best thing that you can do is just go to your charge nurse and go to management and be like, listen, I do not want to be in this person's room. Like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't like the way they speak to me. Because 9 times out of 10, like, management does not do anything about these surgeons, which is why this has gone on for so long. Like, the operating room is known to be like a toxic environment, and it's because they, like, nothing ever happens to these surgeons. They talk to people whatever way they want to talk to them, and nothing gets done, because at the end of the day, they bring in the money. It's not me, it's not you, it's not the nurse, it's the surgeon that's bringing in the money. So they're just gonna be like, oh, okay, we'll just like not put you in a room with them. Yeah, they're not gonna get reprimanded. So you need to think about that if you think you're gonna go check a surgeon. Also, their egos will not allow it. Okay, their egos will not allow it. Like, even if you got the satisfaction of like checking a surgeon, they're probably gonna report you, and guess who's gonna be in trouble at the end of the day? It's gonna be you. It's gonna be you. So pick your battles. If there's any place I've learned to pick your battles, it's marriage and the operating room. Okay. It's marriage and the operating room. You got to pick your battles, and I can't be picking my battles at home, and I need to pick them at work too. I'm learning both ways. Okay, so that's one thing to remember, is that some of these surgeons are real nasty. They're very disrespectful, and you really have to just pick your battles. Again, if you're the type of person that can be like, hey, listen, I don't like the way how you're talking to me. Again, a lot of their egos will not allow that to happen. They'll blow it up. They'll tell you, oh, you need to come out of my room. They'll literally kick you out of the room. Or they'll go to charge and they'll report you and say, oh, don't ever put her back in my room and whatever. Like, they're just insane. They're like actually insane. So pick your battles. But again, that's just a handful. Out of all the surgeons that are there, it's really just a handful. There are so many oh my goodness, there's so many super nice people. And I say people because like, they're people, right? But there's so many really nice surgeons out there, like so nice. So I don't want you to think that this is just all around. It's just some. There are some really, really nice, decent surgeons out there that really respect their surgical tech. They like really listen to them. They think of their surgical tech as, what they are, their right hand. They have respect for them. They talk to them like they're a normal person, and it's a great time, and you have a great time in those rooms with those surgeons who are just super nice people who are just not disrespectful. So I don't want you to think it's everyone. It's not. It's just those handful. Like, with every people, with every set of people, there's just them people. There's just a few. There's just a few. So anyways, moving on. Number 2 would have to be the standing. So you guys know, as a surgical tech, you're pretty much on your feet your entire job. Like, this is a job where you are always on your feet. The only time you get to sit down is if there's an eye case going on, or it's ortho and they're fixing the hand and they're sitting down. But 95% of the time, or it's like robotics and the surgeon's at the console, at that point you can sit down when they're at the console. But everything else, you're standing. And some cases go for hours. Like, sometimes I'm in a room from 3 p.m. up until like 9 o'clock. Like, that's what, 5 hours? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 7 hours. Okay. Like, I don't know why I thought that was 5 hours. Wait, really? Wow. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow. 7 hours. Yeah, it has happened. Like, I've definitely had cases where I'm in a room, and it's usually like I get in that room, and like sometimes someone will come. Like, if we have the staff, someone might come and give you a quick 15-minute break, but that's not always guaranteed, because the later it goes in the daytime, the later it goes at night, there's not a lot of people around, so we may not have the staff for someone. We may be so busy and there's not someone available to come out and give you a break, so you're really like standing there for hours. But I would definitely say, like, if you're ever feeling sick, like you feel like you're gonna pass out, you may need, like, sometimes some people have, like low blood sugar. Like, I've had that happen to me once, where my blood sugar was so low and I felt so bad, and I just had to call my nurse over and be like, hey, can you call the charge nurse and tell her to get me some juice? Like, that's always an option. But don't think that you have to just like stick it out. Sometimes you do, like you really do sometimes. But if you really need to get out of a case, Management needs to figure it out, because if you're really sick and you're ill to the point where you pass out, like, that's not good. So always make sure you speak up. You know, if you need a seat, like, tell your nurse you're not feeling well and they can grab a stool for you, because there's nothing against sitting down, but if you're in a case that things are going on, like, you don't have a time to sit down, you know what I mean? But if you need a second, you know, you communicate that with your team, you communicate it with the surgeon, you let your nurse know what's going on, if they need to contact the charge nurse so that they can potentially get someone else to come in and fill in for you for a second, you know. Always, like, know that there are options. But again, there are some days where it's not possible, but if someone's literally passing out, they'll figure it out. So yeah, so that's one of the things to remember. Like, you will probably be in cases for super long. There's just some cases that go on for hours, and you're standing there, you're moving around, passing stuff, helping, retracting. It's very, very tiring. And the third con would be how physically demanding the job is. It is physically demanding. Like, I've had days where my back hurts, my knees hurt. I feel like my neck is always hurting me. My neck is literally, every time my husband, like, gives me massages, he's like, your neck is stiff. And it's because if you know what a back table looks like, when you're in a room and you're at your back table, like 90% of the time you're at your back table, or you're just, like, usually, like, the operating room table is like down, right? So your neck is like that when you're trying to pay attention to the field. 90% of the time, I'm gonna turn this way so you guys can see, I'm like this. I'm at my field and I'm like this. And this, over time, like, holding your head like that over time really, really hurts. And so that makes my neck, like, super stiff. Like, the back of my neck is, like, super stiff. And from, you know, the leg pain, from just standing too long, it's physically very demanding. From standing there, sometimes you're retracting and your arm feels like it's gonna fall off, like, and retraction is probably one of the most important things in surgery. So if you get tasked with the job of retracting and holding the camera, you better hold still. You better be still, and you better hold it, and you better hold really well, because it's a very important job that you have when you get to hold the retractor or the camera. It's, like, super important, because the camera, number one, surgeon needs to see, and same thing with retracting, surgeon needs to see. So these are very important jobs. If you ever get tasked with holding the retractors, holding the camera, you really got to stand there and be still. And, like, I'm telling you, your shoulder's gonna feel like it's gonna fall off, your fingers feel like they're gonna fall off, everything is going numb, and you're like, oh my god, just hurry up. Yeah, it gets pretty demanding on the body. And also, like, the case cards, those instrument trays, those pans, they're not light. Like, some of them are really heavy. Sometimes I'm pushing back case cards to, like, SVD, and there's, especially when you do, like, an ortho case or, like, a abdominal case, and there's book water, there's all these retraction system sets, and it's so heavy. Like, I work out a lot, and some days I'm just like, that's my workout, because I did so much pushing and pulling, and it's physically demanding. And one thing is, you're gonna feel it at the end of the day. Like, at the end of your day, at the end of the week, you're gonna be like, damn, my body feels like crap. And that's just the honest truth. Like, my friends and I talk about it all the time. Like, this job is physically demanding. Like, so many times I just feel broken. Like, my body just feels broken down because of just how much you have to do throughout the day. The pushing, the pulling, the lifting, it's a lot. It gets a lot. So those are my 3 cons. I would say that those are my 3 cons. Yeah, those are the big things, you know, the surgeons you're working with, the long hours, and just how physically demanding job is. I would say those are my top 3 cons to the job. Like when I think about why I don't like my job, it would be like, if there's a day where I'm like, oh, I hate this job, it would probably be because of how physically demanding it was on my body that day. It was because I was in a case for way too long, standing on my feet, or it was a surgeon that pissed me off. So those are usually my top 3. So let's get into the more fun stuff. Let's talk about my pros. So I would say the number 1 pro for me be how interesting the job is. Like, I would say that I have probably the most interesting job out of all my friends. I like to say that. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say that I have the most interesting job out of all my friends. It's super interesting. Like on a day-to-day basis, like I never really get that bored. I also work at a level 1 trauma hospital, so there's always something very interesting coming in through that door. Very sad, but still very interesting. And again, the human body is so interesting. Like if you're really, really into medicine and you're really into that stuff, like you're gonna have a ball with this job, because there is nothing more interesting than like seeing the body open, the human body like open up. Like I remember one time I had this case, like hand case, and they like peeled back the skin and you could just see all the like the arteries and the nerves, and it was like the coolest thing ever, like things like that. I remember one time I had like a procurement a transplant case, and I saw the heart outside of the human body beating. Like I saw the heart beating just there, right in front of me. And then like I get to hold like a lung or a kidney. Like what? That's crazy. If you're really into medicine and you're really into the human body, this job is for you. Like if you're not, you cannot be squeamish. Okay? If you're squeamish, you're like, oh my god, you cannot, because everything that comes out of the human body 98% of the time is going in your hands. You're getting it. The surgeon's gonna be like, okay, here it is, here's the foot, here's the hand, here's the heart. Like I guarantee you it's going in your hand first before you pass it off the field to your nurse. So you cannot be squeamish. You can't. I've held an amputated foot in my hand like it was just like nothing, and then I thought about it and I was like, that was a little weird. That was a little weird, but it's so cool. Like I think it's, the human body is such an interesting thing. Like just seeing stuff getting repaired, the fact that you know that this is gonna go back to like normal, like a broken bone, you just put a plate, you put a screw in to fix it back together, like things getting fused back together. It's amazing. Like it's so cool. Like I think there's so many times I get out of cases and I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe I just saw that. That was so cool. So I think it's a super cool job. I think it's a super interesting job. Like if you're really into medicine and you're really into the anatomy of the body, this job is for you. You're gonna have a ball. Like I said, it gets sad sometimes because like again, these are actual human beings that need all these things done. They need surgical intervention. Is never like an easy thing for a person to go through. But on the plus side for you, someone there who's learning and like helping them, you definitely do have to be interested in what you're doing, right? Like you have to have an interest. So, and I'm sure the people who are helping, they're happy to know that we actually do love what we do, because it's very important that we're that interested that we're willing to do everything that we do and put up with everything that we have to put up. See all the things we have to see. You know, if you're screaming the whole time and you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna throw up, and you got to leave the case, like, okay, you're doing a lot. So that's not the place to be if you're that type of person. But if you really love anatomy and you're just really interested in the human body, you're gonna have a ball, because you're gonna see some pretty crazy things, some pretty interesting things, and your mind's gonna be blown. Like I think 80% of the time during the week, my mind is blown. I'm like, wow, mind blown. from vascular to general to plastics. Mind blown all the time. Anyways, enough of the mind-blowing things. Number 2, pro, the pay, and we're gonna talk about it, because I'm gonna talk about the pay. A lot of people ask me, what's the pay rate? I get that question all the time. What's the pay rate? Now, I always tell people that's gonna vary from state to state. Depending on where you live, it's gonna vary. And even depending on, like, even when you're in the same state, there's some hospitals that are still not paying the same amount. Like, it's just gonna vary. But I like to give the scale of around $23 to $28, $29. That's the scale I would go with. And the travel tech people, I know you guys are gonna be like, you made more than that. We get it. We get it. We get it. This is not for you. This is for the people who want to get started, or just starting out, who still have to wait 2 years to travel. This is for those people, okay? We're not talking about the travel tax right now. We know. But so I like to say 23 down up to like $28, $29. But again, this really just varies on where you are. So where I work, I'm gonna be very transparent with you guys. I work in DC. I'm not gonna tell you guys where, obviously, because that's for safety. I don't want nobody stalking me. Okay, but so you guys know I went to school in Boston. But I don't know if you guys know that, but that's where I went to school. That's where I got my training, in Boston. And I know in Boston, especially the hospital that I went to for training, I'm pretty sure they start somewhere around 26, 27. I'm not 100% sure. It could be anywhere between 26 to 28 that they pay. I'm not sure, but that's Boston, and the surrounding area probably is similar. Maybe, I'm not sure. But in DC, I'm gonna give you guys an example. So when I was interviewing and I was applying for jobs here in the city, I applied to one job in Maryland. I applied to one hospital in Maryland and 2 hospitals in DC. And this was the pay range. So the hospital in Maryland, they give me a little call, and I honestly didn't even make it to a face-to-face interview, because when I heard their rates, I was like, oh no, thank you. Oh no, thank you. They were offering to start at $23, and I said no, thank you, because that sounds ridiculously low for the area. And I was, no, for Maryland, $23, no. I knew what my rent was gonna be. I was like, no, thank you. So that was Maryland, one hospital. I can't speak for all the hospitals. And then in DC, there was one hospital that called back. We were talking about what their rates were going to be, and they said they started their techs out at $27. I did not get that job, and I'm kind of glad I didn't get the job, because I did the interview with them and I wasn't really vibing. I wasn't really feeling the vibe. I didn't feel like there was a lot of, diversity. So I'm kind of glad. So, and then the third hospital, which is the hospital I work at, I'm not going to tell you guys where, but they offer $25, which, is it great? No. But at the time, I really needed a job. Really needed a job. And based off like my circumstances and what was going on in my life at the time, I was like, you know what, it's fine. I'll take it. Good, you're hired. So that was $25. So like I said, Maryland, one person was offering 23, one hospital in DC was offering 27, one hospital in DC as well was offering 25. So like I said, it all varies based off where you live or whatever these employers want to be paying people. Listen, so that's that. But to be honest, I never really just take home like a monthly salary for $25 an hour, and I'm gonna explain why. She gonna talk about why. So the reason why I say I never really take home just $25 an hour, and I say this because, so I work 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. So from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. I make what's called shift differential. So shift differential is basically what you make outside of normal business hours. So from 8 to, I think normal business hours is like 8 to 5. So anything after that, overnight, you get paid I think 10%. I think most places and most people base it like it's about 10% off your base rate, whatever, I don't know. You guys look it up, but I think it's 10% of base rate, and that's how they calculate it. But anyways, so after 5 p.m. you start making shift differential. So for 5 hours I'm making not $25, but whatever it is that they give me for shift differential, because I'm working past 5 p.m. And then the lovely call. I take call within an 8-week period of scheduling. Within an 8-week period I'm getting 2 paychecks. Does that make sense? 4. I can't do math. Between an 8-week period I'm getting 4 paychecks. So you're getting about 4 paychecks for an 8-week period. That's my scheduling. So scheduling goes out for every 8 weeks. You take call for that 8-week period, and you sign up for call within that 8-week period of scheduling. And basically I try to spread out and make sure I have at least 2 or 3 call shifts every 2 weeks, like each pay period, right? So the way how I do it is that I make sure that there's never a week where I'm not on call. So I try to make sure that there's never a week that I'm not on call, just so I can get call pay. I take calls for every 8 hours, and call pay varies from hospital. I think is anywhere between $6 and $10. My call pay is $10 an hour. So the way how call pay works is for every hour that you sign up on call, you get $10. So if you work your call shift, so let's say you're on call, you got called in, you're getting your regular base pay, shift differential if it's a weekend pay. So let's say I'm usually on call. So let's say I sign up for call. I usually sign up for call. It's on the weekends, like overnights. And overnights, it's 8 hours call period. So for that 8-hour call period that I'm on call, I'm on call from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. That's $10 that I make each hours of that 8 hours. If I were to get called in for that entire call time, then I would make $25 an hour plus shift differential plus call pay and overtime, because if it's a weekend pay, all that good stuff. So again, even if you don't get called in, you're getting your call pay. So that's something to take in consideration. So I always make sure at least 2 or 3 days of my pay period I'm on call. It's extra money. And again, with shift differential, sometimes overtime, sometimes I work 410s. So there are days where my boss wants me to, like, where charge nurse would be like, hey Sherry, can you come in on, like, so I don't work Mondays, so my charge nurse would be like, can you come in on Monday just to help with lunches and then go home? It's gonna be bonus. A bonus pay is about $20 an hour. So if I came in for, like, usually they'll put me on the clock for about 2 hours. For like 3 hours, I'll be on the clock for about 3 hours. That's 3 hours of my base pay, 3 hours of bonus pay. So and then even if you're on call also, and let's say they only call you in for like 3 hours of your call, even if sometimes you get called in and you get there and they're like, oh, we actually don't need you, once you clock in, you get paid for 2 hours regardless. At least that's how it is at my hospital. So there are perks. So it might not sound like your base pay is going to be that much, but when you factor in everything else, and even if you don't work like mid shift, evening shift, overnights, I've seen people who work 7 to 3, when they're on call, there's like a 95% chance that you're gonna have to work your call shift. And the way how their call works is between 4 to 6 hours of call, and they're usually on the clock. Like, they're never, like, when I used to work 7 to 3, I would take call from 3 to 7, right? I would always, like, 80% of the time have to stay for that call shift, because usually we're short staff or something, and so you can still make good money. So you can really still make good money. And then when the call sheet is already all filled out, if there's like gaps, they'll be like, okay, sign up for bonus call. And if you sign up for bonus call, that's bonus money. it's bonus money. So like when you factor in like everything, you're never really just going to be taking home your base pay. Like I promise you, you're never going to be taking home your base pay. And for like, you know, just like the amount of time you have to go to school, it's not that much. It's really not bad. Like I don't think it's that bad. You can really make a good living being off just a regular surgical tech. And then, you know, the travel techs love to come in and tell us how much they make. It must be nice. But again, even just as a regular tech starting out, like you can still make a pretty good substantial amount of money because of just all the differentials. I think at the end of like some of the times at the end of the day, like I probably end up making like 30 bucks an hour depending on the day. Like if I had a day where like, I think there was one day where I went in on bonus pay and it wasn't bonus pay, it was a weekend. It was a holiday, and it was evening shift. So I got weekend pay, base pay, call pay because I was on call, and I got shift differential, holiday pay, base pay. Like it all adds up. Like I'm telling you guys, it adds up. Everything adds up. Sometimes if you just say yes to, okay, I'll stay a little bit later, that's overtime. Listen, take it. So I think the pay is relatively good for a starting scrub tech depending on your area. And again, like I said, even then, if you're working at a major hospital, if you're working at a 24-hour hospital, you are taking call. You are 1000% taking call. So that's it on my second pro. Good call. Good salary. So my third and final pro would definitely have to be final pro on the list. It would definitely just have to be the opportunities you have to just advance in your career. So if you don't know, the next step from being, which is on the ladder for us as surgical technologists, would be surgical certified first assist. And what a certified first assist is basically they're more in the first assist position, so they can work one-on-one with a doctor. You can suture, you can help with you can manipulate tissue, so you can literally go in there and do things and all that good stuff. Like you really can get in there and assist you're able to just do a lot more in that positions. You're definitely really helping the surgeon. I met a first assist the other day actually, and it was very interesting to see exactly what they do. And basically this guy was able to like we were doing a breast reduction, I think. Yeah, we're doing a breast reduction, and basically like he was able, like while the surgeon was working on one breast, he was doing the same exact thing on the other side. Like he was cutting around the nipple and, you know, preserving it, and then he was able to like suture, like he was fully suturing stuff. He does a lot of like the closure and stuff for the surgeon, but he was able to like do a lot more hands-on stuff that we can't do as just surgical techs. So that was pretty cool to see exactly what they do. Again, he would just come in like as the case was going, you know, to just like help with closure or whatever else the surgeon needed help with that he could potentially help with. So yeah, and then if you are thinking maybe you want to go do something more and you want to go to PA school, there's always that. I think you make a great candidate for PA school if you have OR experience, because there's a lot of PAs that work in the operating room and come in to assist surgeons in surgery. So I think if you were a surgical tech and you decided to go to PA school, I think that would be an amazing thing. You would be a great candidate for PA school as a surgical technologist, especially if you were looking to become a surgical PA. And even if you weren't, I still think you'd be a really good candidate. If that was on your resume for PA school, I think you'd be a great candidate. And then if you want to go to nursing, some people don't know if they want to do nursing right off the bat. Like a lot of people are like, oh, you know, if you want to do nursing, just go straight for it. But a lot of people just don't know. Some people really just don't know. So if you want to know, you want to do this, you got the money, because that's the most important thing. Like a lot of these programs, they cost money. So if you have the money to take time to, you know, or if you don't have the money yet for nursing school, because nursing school is very expensive. So if you say to yourself, okay, let me be a surgical tech, make my money, save my money, and then I can apply for nursing school. And a lot of people, what they realize is that they would actually like to be OR nurses, and there's not a lot of places that hire OR nurses straight out of school, but there are some places who does that. And so, and if you have like OR, if you were a surgical tech, I'm pretty sure that would look great on your resume if you're fresh out of nursing school and you're trying to go in the OR. If you were a surgical tech, pretty sure that would make you a great candidate too, right? Yeah, I think so. And then, you know, if you want to go big or go home, go to medical school. Go to medical school. You already got your foot in the door. You already know what it's like in the operating room. If you're thinking maybe you want to go surgery route, go for it. Go for it. You know so much already. You're going to be one of those medical students that's ready for anything because you're like, I did this, you know, so go for it. But yeah, those are my pros and cons of being a surgical tech. I think, you know, in the beginning, I struggled a little bit in the beginning, I'm not gonna lie. I had days where I was just like, I don't know if I like this, I don't know if this is for me. I felt very overwhelmed and stressed out, and I think that's just the beginning of anything. You know, if you're still struggling, like, I don't know, like a year in, months, like 6 months, you know, 10 months, a year in, may not be for you. I would say that once you get to that 1 year mark, you should be able to tell if this is really what's the job for you, you know what I mean? Because you've had so many surgeries that you've assisted in at this point that you should be able to tell. And I think, you know, it's not something that I will be doing for the next 10 years of my life because I have other things I would like to do. I have other, you know, career adventures that I would like to, career paths I would like to take. But I think for anything, I think I would say I would definitely, like, even if I don't work full time, I would definitely like pick up a shift here and there just to like see what's going on. But it is definitely a long-term career. You know, I've met techs who've been doing it for like 40 plus years, but like I said, you know, they tell you it takes a toll. Like, you will hear those stories from those like super those techs who've been working for a long time, that they'll tell you it takes a toll, like, for sure. Like, I'm only a year in and I'm telling you it takes a toll, okay? But yeah, I think all in all, like, it's a great career choice. I mean, you really don't need to be in school for a super long time. Like, you're there for like some programs are 10 months, some programs are 1 year, some programs, you know, if you want to get your associates, that's 2 years. Still not a lot of time, not a long time to be in school. A lot of people don't like long programs and things like that. So I think surgical tech, you know, if you're really into anatomy, you're really into the human body, learning more, you're really into medicine, and you're very hands-on person, because that's my thing. Is like, I'm a very hands-on person. Like, I need to be doing something with my hands, and it's not going to be typing on a computer. It's not going to be typing on a computer. I need to be in there. I need to do things, and it's one of those jobs where you have to do things. You're quick on your feet. You can think quick. You work well under pressure, even though I'd be crying. But no, sorry. You work well under pressure, you know. Yeah, I think this would be a great career for you if you're considering. I get so many messages, you know, daily about people who are interested in this field and want to know more, and I'm always happy to answer you guys' questions. You guys know that, so feel free to hit me up on my Instagram. A lot of you find me on Instagram and chat with me over there. Also follow me on TikTok at Life with Cherie. I definitely post a lot more of my day-to-day on TikTok from work. I try to post, like, I've been doing that a lot more on TikTok, and they've been doing really well, where I just try to post like my day-to-day, what cases I do, and all that good stuff. So if you want to follow me on TikTok, go ahead and do that, because I'm more active over there with my day-to-day life and things like that. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you have any more. What are your personal pros and cons if you're a surgical tech? And feel free to interact with me and ask me any questions you might have if you're interested in becoming a surgical tech. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and it was helpful to you guys who are thinking about it. And for all those of you who are in your programs and you're a little scared, and you know it's gonna get better and you got this, so stay strong. But yeah, as always, I will see you guys in my next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Bye.